Everyone, hope all of you are doing great. So in the last video we have done the entire setup for our context management with the help of using ThirdWeb, and we have also fetched the contract, connect wallet, connecting addresses, passing all the data, everything we had done in the last video. So if you haven't watched the last video, I would recommend you to watch it because that will make sense whatever we're going to cover right now in this video. So here we have this contract variable. Let me remove this one. And now what we have to do is now we have to write the functionality for creating and listing the property, and that's what we're going to do from here. So in this video we'll focus only on creating property using the ThirdWeb. Okay, so let's call this function, and from down below we're going to write the entire function. We're going to have a lot of function, close to 15 to 16 function we have, because this contract is pretty huge. So we are going to work on the very first function. So let's call the functions, and we'll call one, and this will be, let's come up here, what we have called the function. Let me come to the web3, go to the contract, and which one the function we have to call it. So this is the function we have to call, and that we have to pass all of the data. Simply grab the name of the function, and that's what I'm going to simply pass here. So this is the function we're going to build. So come up here, we'll take a variable, we'll call mutate async, and again I'm not coming up with this, it's there in the docs, and from there we are getting it. So we'll call mutate async, and we have to give the name of the function, and it will also give you the loading state. So you will know that when you will do the transaction will take a little bit time to give you the data. So this will give you either false and true. If it's in the loading state it will say true, but if it's not loading state it will say false. So on the base of that you can display the loader in your front end UI. So that's the one we have is loading. We'll say error, and it's coming from use contract write, because we have to write something into our contract. So this is the hook we're going to use it. We're going to give the name of the contract, then we have to give the name of the function we want to call inside the contract. Okay, taking this loading state it will return true or false, and then we have the error. If anything goes wrong into the contract it will give us the error, and then we are using the hook called use contract write. We are taking the contract and we are passing the function which we want to call it. So that's the entire setup we have done for writing. Now if you come here, if I come here, go to the explore build section, if I come, so this is the function all we have. So click on this list property, and this is in the JavaScript. So if I come here, this is the read, I click on this React, and this is the exact piece of code I've got it. Okay, this is the exact piece of code. So we have first imported the contract, so simply grab it one more time, and I'm going to simply show you, simply paste here. This is the exact thing we had written, and this is the exact function we have to call if we want to list the property in the on the blockchain in our smart contract. So get this contract, so get this function, and this is the exact thing which I have done here. I'm going to simply replace that code. You can see, and the best part of this ThirdWeb is that it will give you that what are the inputs you have to parse, what are the argument you have to pass, how you have to call the function. So you don't need to build the functionality. Obviously we have to do the modification because we have to customize the data as per our requirement. So you have to do the modification, but straight away you can simply copy and pass the data and you will have the functionality. So you can see this is the mutate async listed property loading. We're not going to take the error object. Then we have this one. Okay, all of these things we have, and the same thing we have to do for all of the other functions. So this is the name of the function, it's given call, but we're going to rename this one to something else called create property function. So this will for creating property function, and now we have to pass all of this argument. So we have to pass the owner, price, property title, and this is the argument. So if I remove this one, you can do either this way, you can remove this one and you can send as a form of object. So if you do that, save it, so this will also work fine. So if I come here, close this one, and here you will get the data. Once the transaction went through success, you will get this data. Close this one and simply take the function, and that function we have to pass it here. So let's pass the function create property function, and simply grab this particular function, and now this function we're going to use it in our front end to connect. And To do that, here you can see here we have the owner. So owner, there is no variable in our context as an owner, means we have to pass the address of the user who try to interact with the contract. So we have to simply pass the address. We have the address, so we'll pass the address, and we have to pass the price. All of this data we have to pass, and that's what we're going to take from the user. So to do that, what we can do is come up here. Here you can see we have owner, we have price, we have property title, we have category, we have image, we have property address, description. So we can come back here in the index, and here we're going to build that. So what I will do now, I'm going to take the function. So like some of the function I use over and over again in most of my tab, and I converted those function into a utility function, so I can use that whenever I want in my project. So I don't need to build that. Again, you will get this in the startup file, so you don't need to build that. Okay, so this is the file we have, utils. I will simply drag and drop into my client folder. I'll give you a quick overview. So I will expand that one. Come here and come to the utils. Inside that I have this file called index, and in this index we have this three function. One, we have day left, which will give you the time, that how many days are left. We have this check image and calculate percentage. So these are the three function I have into this utility because I use this in most of my application. So I converted that. So all we have to do is to pass a number, it will give us the percentage. If you pass a timestamp, it will give you the time left. And we have another function called check if image. So it check whether the image provided by the user or not. Okay, so we have these three images. So I want you to take a snapshot or pause the video and write it down, but I will provide you this in the starter file. Okay, so these are the simple function. We will take the URL, we'll take the callback function, and it's going to simply check that whether we have the image or not. On load, and we have the on error. So things looks pretty fine to me. Close this one. Hope it makes sense to all of you guys. Make sure to have this, not this two, but you should have this one, check image, because this is the function we're going to use in this particular project. Or maybe if we want to show the timestamp, we can take this as well, but we're going to focus on this. So close this one, and now come back to the pages index, and here we're going to import that. So let's import that, call check if image, and this coming from the utils. We have that one. So that's the one we have. Now we'll come up here, come here, and we'll take this state variable. So we're going to take this two state variable. So the one we'll take this, let's say, is loading. Initially it will be false. We have to take another one called state, and this will call properties. In this we're going to store all the properties which we're going to face from the contract in this variable, so we can display. So these are the two state variables we have. Now we can come up here, we can take a use state or the form, and it will be in form of will be an object, and in that we have to define all the data which we want to send into our contract. So the first thing, we want to take the property title. It's going to be an empty string. Then we have to take the description. Then we have to take the category. After that we have to take the price. After that we have to take the images, and after that we have to take the property address. So these are the data we are taking, which we will pass into the contract. So this is the form object. Now we'll come here and we have to build the functions. So let's take a build a function. We'll call handle form field change, and this function is reliable for updating our form data. So it's going to take the two variables. It will take the field name and it will take the e. You can do normal update, but this one is the most clean way to update our state variable in the form object. So all it will do, it will take the sort form and it will update the data. So we have to deconstruct that, spread the entire object which is in the form, and we're going to simply pass the field name, and in that we have to pass this e target dot value. So this will automatically trigger and update the data. All we have to do is to call this function. So we are back. So I took a good 10-minute break, and after that I'm start again recording the video. Now let's continue where we left. So now what we have to do is, let's take a variable. We'll define another function, and this function is reliable for updating our data. So we'll call this function called handle submit, and in that we're going to pass this. It's going to be async function because again we are dealing with the contract function. We'll pass this e, and in that we're going to take this stop the default behavior, e.prevent default. Once we do that, now what we have to do is come up here, and we're going to come here and we're going to simply call our function check if image. So this is the check we have to do, whether we have the image or not, and the user providing or not. Okay, so it's going to take the form.image, and it will also be a callback function. We'll say exist. I hope you guys can see what we are doing here. In the utility function, we have this call function check image, and it take the image URL and it will check a callback function. So here we have to check for a condition. We'll say if exists. So if we have the image URL, then we have to simply update our data. So we'll say set is loading to true, and we have to call the function, the contract function. We'll call the create. So this is the function we have to call, create property function, and that's what we're going to simply call it here. So let's come here, import the function, and that's the function we have to call and pass the data. Inside that we have to simply first we have to pass the data, the form data. We have to spread the form inputs, and then we have to simply update the pricing. So this pricing will come so this pricing will come in form of number. So we have to convert that into a way, because that's how the transaction take place on the blockchain. So we'll convert that. We'll use this ether.utils.parse units, and that we have to pass the form price and the decimal points. It's 18. Hope things are making sense to all of you. Once we do that, we have to simply set our set loading to false, and that's looks pretty good. Else we have to simply show the alert message that the URL is not a valid URL. We can say please provide valid URL, image URL, and this is the alert message we want to give. And we have to simply empty the image from the form. Okay, we'll say image empty string. So that's the function we're going to simply attach in our form. So things looks pretty fine, and now we can come here. So our functions are ready. Now we have to define the entire form from which we will take the data. Okay, so let's come up here. Here we have the address. Let's take h1 tag and we'll say create, and here we're going to take the form. It will have the on submit, and we have to simply call this particular function. Okay, this is the function we have. Now simply open this one, and we're going to take this div. Inside that we have to take the input field. It will have the type. So text placeholder will be the property title, and it will also have the function we have created on change, and we have to simply call this particular function handle form field check, and in that we have to pass the name of the field and the event. So we'll pass the name. So this is the name we have, property type, and we have to pass the event e. So that's how we will pass the data into our handle form field change, and it will automatically fill out the data as per the data we are passing, the field name we are passing. So that's the first input we have, and this will simply update it. Simply grab this piece of code. So now we have to work on all of this field. So simply grab this piece of code and repeat couple of times. So here we have 6 times. Now the second one we have is the, let's say, description. Simply grab that one, and we have to simply, here we have to pass description. Now we have to get the category, and here we have to pass the category. So that looks pretty fine. Now we have to work on the price. Simply get the price, and after category we have the price. Simply replace this one and change this to category, and this will become the number. After category we have to work on the image. Simply grab that one and we have to simply change this portion URL, and this will be the number. And now we have the last one is the property address. Simply replace this one and the property address. So this is the entire form field we have, and now we're going to take a button on which we're going to attach the submit function. So we'll take this type is going to be submit, and we'll call this submit. So whenever someone will click on the button, it will automatically trigger the function we have attached into the form. So that's our entire form component for creating the data. Now simply close this one, come up here, and you can see it looks absolutely incredible. Reload the browser and things are looking fine. Do the inspect element, go to the consoles. Right now we don't have any issues. Now we can have to provide all of this data. Okay, so what we can do is come up here. So this is the data we are sending. So where we are, so here we are. So all of this function looking fine. Let's come back to the context, and here we have to receive the data. So we'll type form, and this will have all the data. Let me comment this out to show you that we are getting the data, and here we're going to console log with the entire form. Okay, looks pretty fine. Now reload the browser, simply pass this text $property, pass the description, hey Bob, give the category to housing, the pricing would be 5, the image URL. Now we have to go back to the Pixabay. Let's go to the Pixabay, get the click on this, and we have to get an image URL. So as I told you that you have two options. One, you can simply grab the URL of your property, or you can simply upload that into the smart contract with the help of IPFS. I'll show you the both way. Okay, so just follow for the time being right now. So if I paste here, you can see this is the URL of the image, and that's what I'm going to provide here. Let's give the address. So we'll say no, and click on submit, and here you will have all the data of that particular function which we are getting: housing, descriptions, image, pricing, title. So everything's looking fine. You can see everything is working absolutely incredible. If I don't provide the URL, you can see our error message will display, please provide valid image URL. So this one is also working fine. You can display a custom model in which you can display this message, or you can use this alert pop-up. Both are same for you. So that looks pretty fine, and the image is not there. So now let me provide that one. If I click one more time, I will have the data for that one. So this looks pretty fine to me. Now what we can do is, it's better to deconstruct this form data. So I'll simply remove that, and I'm going to deconstruct that, and this all data is coming from the form. Okay, come back here. Now let's come here in the index file, index page, and we have to grab this one because this is the exact thing we have to provide. Come back to the context, and here we're going to simply provide it. We have to remove this one. Simply remove, select all of this and remove it, save it, and this looks fine. And that's the exact data we have to pass inside this function here. So let me uncomment this one, and we have to get all the properties. So we have to pass the data in the same order. That's the one thing you have to keep in mind, that the data we have to pass in the same order. We can't modify it. So it's asks the address, price, property, title, category. We have to pass this data in the same order. So let's provide the property title. We have to provide the description, and after the description we have to provide the category. Simply grab that one, category. After that we have to provide the image, and then we have to provide the property address. So that's the one we have to provide it. So that looks pretty fine. So this function is almost ready. We will get the data, and then we'll pass it to the contract, and it will make the transaction. So now we are ready to test this out. So come up here, reload the browser, and let's try to make the transaction. Before we do that, let's check that whether we are connected. Yes, we are connected. Let's clear my history. I don't want to get into an error. So sometime your previous history in the MetaMask create a transaction fail. So make sure whenever you change your wallet address from one to another, you make sure to clear all the history, so you won't have any issues. Reload the browser. Now let's pass all of the data into this fields. So what I will do, I'll pass the thanks giving house, you can type whatever you want. Okay, welcome to my new property. Category is going to be housing. We'll have the price is going to be 15. We have to provide the image URL. Simply grab this one, come back here and paste here. Now we have to give the property. You can type whatever you want. No, okay, let's type no. That looks fine. No time. Click on this, submit, and something's went wrong. Come here, and we are getting this error message that it needs 7 argument, but it's getting 0. Why so? We are provided all the arguments. Why we are getting this error message? Okay, the data is fine, but it's there's something with the argument. So here we have the issues in the list property. I think argument keyword is mandatory. So let's do this one. Object, convert this into an object and do this. Now again we have to provide all the data. So let me quickly type it. Hey Shweb, bye. Give the category to is something. This is, they give the 16, paste the image URL and type the address whatever you want. So let's type home, click on submit, and still we are getting an error. It needs 7 argument, but we are getting 0. So there is something wrong. Let's come back here in the ThirdWeb and let's have a look. So this is the function we want to call it, and this is the exact method we have to call. So simply grab this entire code and come back to the VS, and now what we can do is, let me do one thing. So all of the data is looking absolutely fine, but still I'm getting the error message. So the best thing we can do is simply close this function and simply replace this one and the function. Simply remove this and paste here whatever we have copied from here, and now we have to do the modification here. Simply grab the function and paste here. So don't need to do changes in here. Let's paste the function name and open this one. We have to get this entire data, copy this one, and that's what we have to call it here. So that's the form. Now we have to pass the form. So that looks pretty fine. I guess the problem, I know what is the problem is happening. So simply remove this one, and the problem was there in the argument. Okay, we have to provide this argument keyword. That was the problem we have. So now simply pass the data. Here we have to pass the address of the user who's interacting. Now we have to pass the property title. We have to pass the description. We have to pass the category. We have to pass the images. We have to pass the property addresses. Okay, so make sure to make these changes and it will work fine. Okay, so argument keyword is mandatory. You have to use the argument and then you have to pass the variables. Come here, reload the browser, and let me provide all of this data, random data. I'll say buddy, category, whatever you can give, housing. Let's type the pricing, copy the URL and paste here, and you can give the address whatever you want. Click on submit, and this time we have still got an error. It says that the action required a connection wallet. Okay, so we are not connected with the wallet, that's why we are getting this error message. Now what we can do is click on this. Okay, first we have to, let me disconnect because maybe there is some problem. So simply disconnect that one and reload the browser, and now try to connect the wallet. So once you click on that, here we have the MetaMask. Now we have to pass the credential to log into the application, and here we are connected. You can see we are connected, and now we can easily able to make the transaction. Sometime we get this kind of error. So let me pass the data, random data. We'll pass the pricing, image, copy, paste. We have to paste the address. Now click on the submit, and you can see this time we are not getting an error, and it's take a little bit time to open the pop-up. And here you can see the MetaMask is open now, and we are making the interaction with the contract, and the network is busy, gas prices are high, and estimated are less accurate. Okay, so now what we can do, we can simply make our transaction. Click on confirm, and the transaction is happening at the background, and you can see it's taking a little bit time, and that's why we have that loading state. So you can see it's happening. Just wait, soon we'll get the log, and here you can see our contract is successfully triggered and we have successfully created one property. This is the receipt we have got. If you open that one, in that you will have all the detail about the transaction you have done right now. So we have all of these data. We have the events. This is the event we have initialized. This is the from, gas used. All of things are working fine. Now if you come back to the ThirdWeb, you can able to find all of the data. So we have come to the overview and you will see that we have run one event. So this is the property listing we have created just now, and this is the event we trigger. If you click on that, you can able to have the details. This is the block number you will have, and inside that you will have all of this data. So these are the data we have passed in the event, which we can retrieve very easily. Okay, so things are looking absolutely incredible. Honor, we have the pricing, so tons of things that we have. So come back here. Now what we can do, click one more time and create one more property. Here we have the property. Click on confirm, and I have one pending transaction. Click on confirm. Okay, somehow I made two transactions. Okay, so the transaction went through, and you can see we have this 3 transaction because there was a transaction at the initially because I double clicked it. Okay, so we have all of this transaction. You can see this looks absolutely fine. If you click on the overview, you can easily able to see the event. So things are looking absolutely incredible, and now we can easily able to create property into our contract. So let's come back to the code. Now you can understand that how you can use this ThirdWeb hook to write something into your contract and how easy it is. So that's why I wanted to give you so much emphasis on this, because once you understand these entire things, later it will make more sense. Okay, so this is the first function we have created, and that's the only thing I want to cover in this video, because I wanted to show you in brief that how you can create property using ThirdWeb, utilizing the hooks. You can see everything's working fine. In the next video, we'll have one more lengthy and well-focused topic which we're going to cover. And that we're going to focus that how we can retrieve data using ThirdWeb. Video will build the function to read the data from the contract, and we're going to optimize that in our way, which we're going to utilize it for displaying the data into the front end. Okay, so let's move to that.